with IT Wire, and today we're talking to CitrusAd COO Adam Skinner. How are you doing?
Very good, mate. Very good.
Cool. So if you could tell us about yourself and your background in technology first, and then we'll go into what CitrusAd does and what your role is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with previous companies like Ardent Leisure Group in Australia, Fitness and Lifestyle Group. I was the Chief Technology Officer and Chief Data Officer for Fitness and Lifestyle Group. They ran probably around about 650 gyms throughout Southeast Asia. And built things like Chris Hemsworth's mobile app called Center, which was his workout app, which is doing pretty good.
That's a tangent. Let's not go on that one.
And then so obviously the pandemic hit in 2020, and the gym business took a bit of a hit. Okay, and so. I joined Citrus in 2020 as their Chief Technology Officer. And at the time, we were probably less than 20 people globally. Okay. And went through rapid scale, and which we can get into as well. We got acquired by Publicis Group and Epsilon, okay, in late 2021, okay, completion October 2021, and now the business has grown substantially. We're now part of a group that ultimately operates retail media network solutions across multiple channels. So my background in
I guess we should kind of go into that before moving on. It's like, what exactly does CitrusAd do?
Absolutely. So you can think of everyone probably uses us on a day-by-day basis, but they don't even realize it. Okay, and that's probably the beauty of our business. Okay, because we were pandemic proof, as horrible as that sounds. So you can think of us, if you go into a brick and mortar grocery store today, you travel down the aisles, you have shelf space, and brands and advertisers bid for that shelf space, or they pay for the right to be in eye level, okay, in the physical brick and mortar store. You can think of us as being the technology solution for the online and on-site retail kind of like store, okay. And we sit in between the advertiser or the brand like Coca-Cola and the retailer like Woolworths, okay, and we provide sponsored product and digital display in the form of banners and responsive banners advertising. So we run all of the logic, okay, behind that, okay. So we determine the highest propensity ads, okay, and the way that we have from a vision, okay, is that all three circles, okay, and all three actors need to be equally benefited, okay, so that it doesn't kind of cause the platform to be outweighed on one side. So we say that the consumer needs to be benefited, okay, by ensuring that they're getting, personalized ads, okay. They're not getting kind of rubbish ads in their face, okay, for things that don't make any sense, okay. So they need to have a really optimum user experience, okay. The advertiser needs to be equally benefited because they need to get return on ad spend, okay. So they're putting $1,000 into the platform. They want to know that they're going to be getting kind of ads clicked on and products being purchased. And then obviously the retailer needs to get revenue from monetizing their real estate and their digital real estate. So that's where we operate. And as you can imagine, the pandemic caused a massive behavioral shift and a paradigm.
You're asking my question for me there. It's how did that affect you? I mean, many companies thrived, many really dived. Well,
look,
which one were you? You're still here.
As morbid and horrible as it sounds, is that it was a good period of time and a good period of growth for Citrus. Okay, and what we've seen is throughout the pandemic, we've had behavioral shifts in the way that people shop, okay, online. Okay, so during the pandemic, we actually saw anywhere between a 15 to 20 times increase, okay, in digital e-commerce, okay, going through, and that's cognizant of what was happening in the market. You know, you look at most of Australia, most of the brick and mortar stores were closed. Okay, they were forced to close. Okay, so it caused not only a paradigm shift in terms of the consumer, but it caused a paradigm shift in how these retailers actually conduct e-commerce and conduct business. Because a lot of them forced them to kind of move into, expanding their e-commerce operations. It forced them to move into kind of doing logistics, okay, and drop ships, okay, and it forced them into kind of like actually having a retail media solution, because no longer were they relying on revenue for in-store monetization, like what I was talking about before. They're now relying on the revenue of advertisers online, okay, and so that pushed a lot of growth in our area. The 2020 and 2021 and even this year have been huge growth trajectories for Citrus, but not only Citrus, but I suppose the retail media industry as a whole.
So which technologies did you use to basically help you scale in that time? Because I guess everyone had to invent new ways very rapidly to do digital transformation. You're kind of in that space anyway. So maybe had some advantage, or did you?
Yeah, and look, I suppose it's part of being a digital native, okay, which I think is key in a lot of these things. It's not like we were dealing with a legacy tech stack, okay, or physical tin can infrastructure. Okay, we were born in the cloud, okay, and prior to the pandemic, we were only really probably 2 or 3 years old. Okay, so a lot of the tech that we had been built in such a way, okay, that we were ready to scale. Okay, so we containerized all of our tech stacks into Kubernetes Engine. Okay, we were using BigQuery for big massive data sets. Okay, we were using tools like visualization tools already, okay, that were sitting on top of BigQuery, okay, to visualize our data and to look at kind of ways that we can actually have opportunity analysis, okay, and then we're using kind of Terraform, okay, and other other templated tools to ensure that we're able to have elasticity in what we were doing from a scaling perspective as well. Okay, when you think of it, we look after some of the largest retailers in the world. Okay, retailers that are 4, 5, and in some cases 50 times as large as Woolworths in Australia. And so you've got to have a solution that's able to scale to that traffic. Okay, you've also got to have a solution that's able to scale to Cyber Week that's coming up now. Okay, like where traffic peaks and troughs go to huge differentials compared to kind of normal standard traffic. And that's where we needed that solution and that trust in that solution. Okay, and that's why I suppose we picked Google Cloud, okay, over AWS and over Azure, okay, because Google deals with this every single second of the day. Like when you're dealing with millions, if not billions, of concurrent searches every day on Google Search, you need that elasticity and you need that scalability.
So it's interesting to hear that you view Google as way bigger than those little players, Azure and AWS. Was there any other services or offerings that helped you choose over them? Because those guys are pretty big and popular too.
Yeah, look, it's being a startup at heart. Okay, we've gone through many phases of our business. Okay, so we are we've gone through a startup. We've gone into kind of more of a scale up. We're now part of a large kind of large media holding group with Publicis and Epsilon. Okay, and so we needed to pick a partner that fitted our vision and our mission and our culture. Okay, and that correlates to what Google's all about. Okay, so it's not only us picking a tech partner in Google, it's also us picking a business partner, okay? Because we've learned a lot from Google's business processes, their ways of work, the way that they handle innovation, okay? And these are all key things that we could go and pick a cloud partner tomorrow, okay? But you don't get that type of, I suppose, additional value from these other partners, okay? And so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at how does it correlate back to our internal, our internal values, okay? Are these people that, genuinely, our people want to work with, okay? And then also are the tech stacks that Google are using, is it the bleeding edge, okay, bleeding edge of tech, okay, because that's how we also attract and we retain talent, okay. So we're probably one of the only companies in Brisbane that uses Golang as a language, okay, and we get people coming, we attract people like engineers that want to come and learn that. Okay, and it's taking that, okay, that level of, I suppose, culture from what we have with Google and trying to apply that into our business as well.
So I guess you've kind of answered my final question in some respect there, but what kind of advice would you give to other startups when it comes to choosing a technology partner?
Yeah, look, I think it's like focus on the breadth of not only just the technology requirements, but look at the other areas where that partner is able to help you scale, not only from a technical perspective, but also from a business innovation, looking at new ways, looking at new ways of working, okay, and then also kind of like that local and global approach, okay. So you want a partner that's able to share learnings, okay, with you from other markets, okay. So Google does this all the time. They're like, hey, we've got this, we've got this retailer or partner that's in Europe, okay. How about you talk to them about how they've kind of, they've done this, or they've scaled this, or what areas they're focusing on in Europe, and it's that knowledge sharing, okay, and that collaboration that I think you've got to weigh up quite high, okay, being a startup or a scale up, because you don't have time to invent the wheel. You've got to learn, and you've got to learn really fast, okay. And that's ultimately why we picked Google. Like probably an unknown fact is that we were originally hosted on AWS. Okay, this is back in early 2020, and we actually went through a containerization exercise, and then moved all of our workloads into Kubernetes, and then did a migration from AWS to GCP. And part of that was that not all CSPs are created equally, okay. And that they all have their strengths, okay. There's AWS has its strengths in being able to host legacy services, and I think GCP has its strengths in the bleeding edge. But if you had legacy services, you probably wouldn't kind of pick GCP as a provider, okay. If you weren't a cloud native or born in the cloud, you'd have to terraform a lot of things, and that's ultimately where we went. That's ultimately what met our business requirement, is because we were born in the cloud, so we were able to build these things in such a way that they could be moved, okay, very easily, and that's where we've got to where we are today.
Well, that's been brilliant. I think we could go on forever about this one, but we're at our time limit already. I think you pretty much made my job very easy there. But Adam Skinner, thank you very much for joining IT Wire.
No, thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.